Welcome everyone to Coach Ben's Case by Case. Today's case is how to stop arguments. Let's jump right into it. Alright, my girlfriend, she's 28, he's 25, accuses me of pressuring her to talk about things, but won't initiate conversation or reconciliation herself. We have been together for 3 years, mostly on and occasionally off, and we have an almost 2-year-old child together. So pretty serious relationship already. Throughout the relationship, it has consistently been me that has sought out reconciliation after any conflict, meaning arguments, with the interest in growing together and developing our understanding of each other further, even in times of duress, rather than it being a mutual interest shown by her. Okay, so he starts off by pointing the finger at her, that she's the one who's emotionally unavailable, shutting herself down. Let's see if there's any justification for that. He goes on to say, more importantly, over the past 4 months since we reconciled, I broke up with her last year, as I wasn't happy with the energy we were allowing around our son. And we both chose to re-enter the relationship with the understanding that we would focus on the health of our relationship as partners and as parents. Okay. Sounds responsible, but it's pretty extreme. It has to be pretty bad to want to break up for any length of time, especially with a kid in the middle. But let's go ahead and keep going here. It doesn't really feel like anything has changed from her. Okay, see? So it didn't help much, did it? That was not the right solution. You guys, as a couple, have to squash it right then and there. You can't run away from your problems. Maturity, wisdom, intelligence, where is it? We're not little kids anymore. If you're in a serious relationship, and especially if you have a kid and you guys are already mid-20s approaching 30, where's the maturity, right? So far, I point the finger at both of them. They're both in the wrong for choosing to, quote-unquote, break up. You're going to break up? What is that going to solve? Nothing. Nothing. Let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? Unbelievable. You know, there's productive arguments that are going to happen anyway. That should probably never happen again, because discussion versus arguments, right? But let's go ahead and proceed, because I got a lot to say about all of that later on. I feel like she struggles to acknowledge her role in things by admitting on any level of fault in most of her actions. She's then to blame, and generally she elects not to communicate because she thinks the easier thing to do is just sweep things under the rug, oh boy, and have them not be spoken about. See, that's extremely immature behavior. If that's true, which, as always in Coach Ben's Case by Case, we have to take everything at face value. So, let's just say it's true. What he's saying is true, just like I'm fair with everyone. That's pretty bad. You do not sweep things underneath the rug. I know exactly what that feels like with people who don't care about you. They're telling you right there they don't love you. They don't care about you. If they're not willing to talk about it, as grown adults should, that's a huge red flag. Bigger than the flag of China, okay? It's a huge red flag that should not go unchecked. If you guys can't iron things out, guess what? Guess what's going to happen? We'll discuss that further, as I said before. Eventually be forgotten. Generally, I think this is inherently unhealthy. Yes, it is. And it isn't something I can actively do myself. Okay? Sounds like you're a good guy. That's what it sounds like. But then again, you broke up with her, which was a very poor decision. Both of you. So I'm still going to hold that against both of you. I mean, to allow that to happen, especially with the kid in the middle, I mean, either break up and end it and pay child support. I mean, what happened? Is it salvageable? Yes or no? Let's find out. We had a conversation this evening where I queried when we were going to speak about things, something I hadn't mentioned for a few days since our last disagreement, in which she accused me of being horrible for no reason. Well, that's what you're saying. But maybe she is unreasonable. Maybe she is out of control. Sounds like it by what you're saying, and repeatedly told me to shut up. Well, that's not really mature, is it? That's not going to solve anything. So she could be the fire starter, the toxic one in the relationship. But then again, the immaturity is on his side too, as I said already, with the breakup. That's very immature, so I don't know if I can trust this guy 100%. Minor by many accounts, but something I explicitly stated I won't tolerate anymore. He sounds pretty authoritarian. I don't know if this guy instigates arguments either. We don't know that. But I have to be fair. Because we shouldn't treat each other like that. Okay, so what you're saying is correct. You shouldn't treat each other like that. But you shouldn't have broke up either, right? I'm not going to beat that to where it's a dead horse, but it keeps popping up. Every time you're pretending to be the good guy so far, my mind goes right back to that fact that you guys chose to break up and you're perfectly okay with that. I mean, the kid doesn't know what's going on. He's way too young to know what's going on. But, struggling to acknowledge her role. What do you mean her role in things? You guys are a couple. It's mutual. It's 50-50. Are you one of those macho guys who says, well, a woman should know her place and she's not following my orders or obeying me? I mean, by the way you're communicating here, it's mighty formal. So I don't know if you're one of those authoritarian types, but I can't accuse you of anything because I don't see strong evidence. But I do get that feeling that it's both of your guys' responsibility when it comes down to arguments. You have to be the better person, right? You have to be the responsible one. So you're very aware of what's going on, but why aren't you stopping it? And why did you break up? Because you already gave up once. Are you going to give up again? You can complain. You can whine and complain all you want, which is what I'm hearing here. And I have a feeling that the rest of the case is going to be pretty much the same. Well, she did this and she did that. But again, I'm not going to blame you 100% because if she is out of control mentally and emotionally, then she's just as culpable. But let's go ahead and proceed because to treat each other like that, well, you guys already treat each other the worst possible way. So far, no signs of abuse, but there is signs of neglect. You guys choosing to just turn the other cheek. Both of you guys stuffed it all underneath the rug, not just her when you guys broke up. That's mighty ignorant. That's pretty sad. That disagreement came about as a result of me asking her to take a little more ownership of the fact we need to share litter tray duties. Oh my goodness. You see, now it's getting even more immature. I was kind of sort of with you in the beginning, but, it's starting to unveil itself, the truth. For the cats, who cares about the cats? Litter tray duties. Are you like a drill sergeant? I'm definitely getting the machismo vibes from you, man. You don't order your spouse. Well, she's not your spouse yet. You don't order your partner around like this. I'm glad you two are not married yet because you both are immature. I don't know. Maybe she's innocent. Maybe she shut down on you for that reason because you're a little too bossy. It could be. Let's find out if that's the case because I'm getting those vibes. And became something much more general with regards to the tone of how we interact and the way we fail to communicate effectively. Now, why is that? Why are you guys failing to effectively communicate? You sound like you communicate pretty well from how you write. So why are you failing with her? What's the problem? What's the malfunction? Something that bothers me massively. Well, if it bothered you that massively, why did you give up on each other, right? It makes me feel rather unfulfilled and stifled. Well, you're right about that. You guys are stagnant and stifled. You guys aren't going anywhere. No wonder you guys ran the other way. Like a couple of cowards. That's not what mature adults do. You face the consequences and the problems together as a team. When are people going to understand that? That a couple is a team. It's a team. It's not, oh, let me share my life with you and let's see what happens. Let's go through the ups and downs and grow old together. What are you talking about? Your partner is not a pet that you boss around or judge and say, you know what, well, you got to do things my way because that's the only way. Because that's what it's sounding like here. A lot of blame on her, but you're not describing anything on yourself. You're not taking any extra responsibility. I'm sure you're omitting all of it. Not to really bash on the guy, but I'm getting those vibes. I like to defend men and women. Let's keep going, shall we? This evening, I was accused of... There's that word, accused. My goodness, of pressuring her into speaking about things. Maybe you are. I don't know that. By asking when we might speak about and deal with some of the issues we've been having. Well, it depends how you go about speaking about it, right? Maybe she doesn't like your attitude or how you talk about it. But then again, maybe you're innocent. Right? Let's just go ahead and assume that. Give him a clean slate. See if it gets worse from here. Now, she regularly stonewalls and gray rocks me, simply ignoring me and declining to engage in reconciling, and I generally feel dejected and a bit, that means really sad, and a bit hopeless about the situation at this point. Okay, well, if that's true, then both of you guys are pretty much guilty of the same thing. Because you're not presenting any solid solutions here. I know you're asking for help, but this is just basically arguing. Now, if she is the toxic one, as I said before, then it's just not going to work out. And in that case, yes, she's the one to cause the failed relationship, and you're not really guilty. Although, it sounds like, let's just go ahead and say the innocent side of you. You chose to break up, but it wasn't definitive, it wasn't permanent, and you guys got back together. There's a lot of talk about reconciliation here. She's obviously closing down for a reason. Is she a psycho? Is she toxic? And we just leave it at that? No, it's just senseless shutting down because we've seen that in other cases. Or are you just too much of a stuck-up and too rigid, and she doesn't like your personality to open up to you, and the relationship is going south as a result, and you guys are stuck with a kid? That's my question. Why is it not working out? Like, where are the solutions? Where are the proposed solutions? You got to have something in mind. You can't just come to the table saying, well, she did this and she's doing that. Then what are you asking for help for? You already know what to do, right? If you know that it's not going to work, it's not going to work. You could complain about it, and it sounds like you're complaining about it. There's something wrong with that. But you can't ask for help if you don't have proposed solutions, right? You got to tell me what you guys tried to do. So far, I don't have that. Like, you're saying, oh, let's talk about it, honey. You said that to speak about and deal with some of the issues. How about all the issues? And why is she not non-responsive, right? Let's go ahead and see if maybe this guy can be salvaged, his image here, to see if he's really trying. Because people will say they try, but in reality, they're just lying. They're saying, but I can't accuse this guy of lying, but it sounds like he's not doing enough. I mean, you guys decided to have a child together. She just magically became this way over time. I can't put you at fault, but why is that, right? That's the big question mark. You guys should have been married by now, but luckily you guys aren't. But you guys have a child. Was it an unwanted pregnancy? It sounds like you guys... How can you guys be arguing about these stupid, situations? She doesn't want to open up. Like, what happened? Something traumatic? How did she just do this out of nowhere, and for what reason? There's a lot missing is what I'm trying to say. There's a huge question mark. Like, what are you not telling me? Because so far, this doesn't make sense. You're painting her as a toxic female who doesn't deserve to be called a real mature woman. I get it. But is that all we're going to get from you, right? Because then that equates whining and complaining. Let's find out. We have a wonderful little boy and have periods of being absolutely fine together as parents and separately as partners. Even in the last few days. Okay. I am beginning to question my own sanity or reasonability somewhat. Okay. It's pretty intellectually stated. Because it seems like to her, I'm always being unreasonable by wanting to address things and move on from them. Well, you're not being unreasonable, but why is it not happening, right? Where's the progress? I love her dearly. Do you really? Do you? You guys broke up, for crying out loud. Like, did you start loving her dearly after you broke up and reconciled? Because you said she didn't change. What perplexes me is that, you have the nerve to say, I love her dearly. Well, what's your level of dear, right? How dearly do you really love her? We're not talking about Bambi in the forest here. How much do you really love her? Because it looks like you could have said, no, honey, I think breaking up is a bad idea, especially with our kid, right? Let's work this out. Okay, well then break up for good then. Why are you reconciling with, if it's really a dead horse, she's never going to change. You could whine and complain and hope for things to change, but you're not presenting any solid solutions. Well, I tried talking to her, but it didn't work. It's not good enough. That's not how anything is won or achieved in life. You have to be consistent and persistent consistency, right? But I'm conscious of the reasons I left the relationship in the first place. Exactly. We're back at square one. Round 2, lap 3, right? We can't be unhealthy people and let that affect our ability to be parents to our son. But it's not all about your son. It's about you two, because there's so many couples who unfortunately choose to continue living with each other, married or not married. And they're completely, absolutely miserable. And they have kids or a kid in the mix. Oh, we're doing it for the son. We're doing it for the kids. Wrong answer. Start paying child support. Divorce or break up. Get it over with. Why make life... You don't know when your final day is going to come, right? So why spend it miserable? And that's just one small way of looking at it. That's just one example, okay? Very small but typical way of looking at it. If it's not going to work, stop wasting each other's life. It's not just time. Whether you have kids or not. Doesn't matter. End it. It's finito. It's done. If you guys aren't mature enough or it's just not working, irreconcilable differences. You guys just... incompatibilities, right? You're not compatible. It's not going to work. So I want to talk solutions, right? I've dealt with lots of trauma. That's probably why. I'm growing as an individual. I wonder if she dealt with trauma. Is that what's going on? I'm growing as an individual and I can't help but feel like I'm almost regressing by engaging in this kind of behavior with her. It feels nonsensical. Well, it is. You guys have to get your garbage straight. Get it together. If not for the kid, which should not be the sole reason, because it sounds like that's what your intentions are. Well, we have a wonderful little boy. You put a lot of emphasis on your child, which is great. You guys said absolutely fine as parents and separately as partners. How could you claim that you're absolutely fine together as partners when you guys are arguing over these ridiculous things? That's what's nonsensical. That's what I'm picking up here. But let's go ahead and finish off this case to see, how does this guy end it? What does this gentleman say? It doesn't matter whether I wait hours, days, or weeks. Something I've tried before. Well, waiting doesn't solve anything. A lot of people say time cures everything. That's not always true. In many ways, it never does. No matter what, she hasn't approached me of her own accord. I don't want to apply pressure to her whatsoever, because that isn't gonna generate the response of reconciliation that I'd like. It bothers me. There's that word again, reconciliation. He's really hung up on that word. It bothers me being accused of doing so. And there's that word again, accused. This isn't a courtroom. This is a relationship. You said you love her dearly. You don't really speak of her dearly. Because I feel like I'm spending a lot of my days, energy, and mind space. It's all about you is what I'm hearing, man. Like, I get it. You're suffering. You're miserable. I get it. You might be completely correct. She's just complete psycho. But if you love her dearly, where's the good? Where's the positive? I just don't see it. You even mentioned the cat duties. Come on, man. On trying to fix things. Is this how you go about trying to fix things? So far, I haven't seen anything intellectually positive or constructive. Any type of approach, any thought. It's just whining and complaining. Sorry. With her. And it feels somewhat one-sided. maybe that's the case. It's time to be a big boy. It's time to be a man. It's time to make big decisions here, whether you have the kid or not, right? I'm currently in therapy, as you should be. That's a wise choice. That's the only intelligent thing I've heard so far. Get some therapy. Get some help. From a coach or from a therapist or a psychologist, whoever. Go talk to somebody. A best friend. Hopefully a good friend. An intelligent friend. 1 solo therapy I pay for privately and 2 group therapies. I'm actively striving towards a brighter future for myself. Now, you see, that begs the question. He says, my son and my family. That begs the question, are you going to therapy for yourself only? Because what I would recommend is couples therapy. That would have been see, it's about you, right? I know you mentioned therapy on the side, but that should have probably done a lot. It's better late than never. I get it. But the problem is still the therapy. See, I don't think it warrants the need to have therapy. Now, but you see, there's the clue right there. The big question mark since the beginning of this case. What's wrong with you? I'm not blaming you for what's going on. She's just as culpable. She's just as guilty because she's shutting down. But why is she shutting down? You're seeking therapy. Why isn't she seeking therapy, right? If she's a complete psycho, like you're describing her, she's not reasonable. She doesn't even of her own accord come to you. Yada, yada, yada. The list goes on, right? Like, it's like synonyms for the same problem. Well, she just doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't want to talk about the problems and iron it out. And I get it. And now you're saying you're in therapy, group therapy and private therapy. What for? Why? You didn't mention why. Is it because you have mental and emotional issues that sabotage the relationship? That's missing. You can't put the pieces of the puzzle together if you're missing even one piece. It's not going to work. It's always going to be a flawed puzzle, right? Let's see what he says. I would like her to be part of that picture, but I'm concerned that I may be wasting my time somewhat if this is the general tone of our relationship. But I have to say, you're just as responsible for the general tone as she is. You are. It's mutual. It's 50-50. You got to accept some responsibility. You can't just put all the blame on her, which is what I'm seeing here. I struggle to feel like we are growing when we can't even overcome minor disagreements. Exactly. That's extremely immature. Without there being an emotional disconnect. But it's not just her disconnecting. It sounds like you did too, because once again, you guys chose to break up. Doesn't matter, you guys have a kid, yes, but you guys literally broke up and then reconciled, and you stated that she didn't change and that you love her dearly. Which one is it? And where are the proposed solutions? You said you're going to see a therapist, group therapy and private therapy. What else? That's it. You can't honestly say, you can't be serious that that's it. That's all you're going to put on the plate in this buffet. Because we're talking about a lifetime relationship. That's the goal, right? Whether you have the kid or not, that's the goal. You just came like empty-handed. You came up to the plate and you're going to swing the bat and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to punt, not even aim. Hopefully I get the ball. It doesn't sound like you're really serious. It's like, well, I tried talking to her. She gave me the cold shoulder. She's like a rock. You said like a rock and a gray whatever. It's just like, okay. Now, once again, I'm going to put the blame on her for not being mature, and I'm going to put the blame on you for choosing to have a kid or even let alone be with such a woman, right? Well, maybe she's not mature enough to be called a real woman. A toxic female. If she is guilty, we don't know her side of the story. That's another big question mark. But again, in case by case, we never know. Some of them we do know because they describe the good qualities of their partner. This guy didn't describe any good qualities. He just said, well, she's a good parent and a good partner. That's clearly false about the partner part. So you pretty much, I want to say, lied about that. You're not being 100% honest with yourself here. It's like you presented a couple of illusions. Oh, you know, we make great partners, right? And great parents. Well, the parenting part it sounds legit. But obviously not as partners. Because you said it yourself, struggling to even overcome minor disagreements, emotional disconnects. That's like the lowest immature personalities you can both have. Now you're blaming her for having the emotional disconnects over minor disagreements. But what are you guys disagreeing about? You didn't even mention it. What are the arguments about? Arguments are like a war, for crying out loud. There's yelling, screaming often. There's pointing the fingers, accusing each other. It gets nasty. It can get very to the point of abusive behavior. But you didn't even mention what the heck you guys are arguing about. It doesn't work that way. How can somebody help you if you're not being completely forthcoming? You're not being as descriptive as possible. You're just pointing the finger at her. I strongly suspect that both of you are guilty of the same thing. Because you can't put 100% blame on him because she's being toxic. They both broke up and she's giving the cold shoulder. So she is toxic. I'll give you that. But you're also being not toxic. You're being lazy. Because a real man would present some time. Give me one. Give me one potential solution. And also tell me what the heck you guys were arguing about. There was no mention over what you guys were arguing about. Nothing. A complete empty burger. A nothing burger, right? So, kind of disappointing. I wanted to root for you. But I can't. I can't root for her. I can't root for you. You both are in the garbage can. It's time to get out. It's over. This relationship is done. Start paying child support. Maybe that's why you guys reconcile, because you don't want to do it. She doesn't want to break up for whatever reason. That's completely out of the picture too. Why did she reconcile to come back after breaking up? Was it all for the kid? Because that's the wrong answer. That's not enough to come back together. We're talking about a potential lifelong relationship here. I'm sorry, but that's why I believe in a perfect love. Because perfection is the journey. It's not a destination. You'll never get there. It's the journey is what perfection is all about. There's always something to improve. That's what perfection is. And your perfect potential partner is one who's willing to go through that journey together without pointing the finger at you, without breaking up for 1 or 2 days or a night or 1 second. Maturity and wisdom. Where's the intelligent action here? Nowhere to be found. On both of your guys' accord, right? Arguments will always happen in a lifelong relationship, especially in the beginning. The goal is ultimately to eliminate any chance of arguments from ever happening again. If you think this is impossible, what I just said, to eliminate any possibility of arguments ever occurring again, if you think that's impossible, it's either because you are simply with the wrong person, or you are unwilling to become mature and wise. Probably both. In the worst case scenario, if you want to be a real man or woman, you gotta learn to start taking responsibility for the relationship. Don't just point the finger. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. You're gonna end up like 2 skeletons pointing the finger to each other. It doesn't matter. You guys are wasting your lives together. That's all it is. It's a total waste of life. Now you're going to waste the kid's life too, because he's going to see mommy and daddy always arguing or giving the cold shoulder, and now guess what the kid's going to learn what to do? How to be just as bad as you guys are. There's a possibility that maybe he'll choose otherwise. There's always that possibility. Everybody chooses what they want for themselves when he grows up. But you're leaving him open to negative peer pressure, because who does he have to turn to, that kid, in the future if you guys decide to stay with each other like this? Stubborn, immature. Who does he have to turn to? I guarantee you that kid's going to grow up with problems, mental and emotional problems, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The cycle of nonsense continues for the next generation. And that's something that you should not want or desire or even allow to happen. And with that said, sorry for this couple, but it's not going to work out. It's time to break up for good. Either you guys wise up now or it's over. And that's the end of that. This has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Much love, everybody.